Hey everybody, and welcome to Alan's Bonsai. Well, I did it again. I went to a big box store, I went to their garden center, and they have an area of distressed plants, and I ended up buying two Loropetalums. As you can see, these guys are kind of leggy and they've lost a lot of leaves, but they're still perfectly healthy. I say they because I'm only showing you one, but the other one's the same. And if we spin it around, you can see there's a new growth here. It's sprouting down at the base right here. So this thing is perfectly alive. And I'm going to choose this as the front right here. And I'm going to turn it into a parent and a child style. So we have one tree that's taller and more dominant, and another tree that's off to the side, smaller. But each tree still should be able to stand alone. So if you took them apart, and I do believe that this is two separate trees, so I could rip them apart, but I'm not going to. I'm also going to put this guy in a bonsai pot, which is probably premature bonsai potting, but that's okay. I'm prone to that. Even though I've been doing it for 40 years, I still make the beginner mistake, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. So when you get any tree that's overgrown like this, the first order of business is to just cut back all the excess growth. So I think I'm going to put the camera on the tripod and then get to cutting off the excess. The first thing I want to do is work on the child part. There's also a very low branch coming off of the parent part that is no way going to be part of the design, so I'm taking that off. And then if you notice, the child part has three different ways it could go. You could go like this, or like this, or like this, but two of them need to come off. And then the question is, where do I want to go with it? If I bring this guy out here, then it's got this bend in the branch. It would be out in here. This one is way too straight and really has no pizzazz for me, so I'm taking it off already. And then that eliminates that guy. And I'm really thinking of doing this guy, honestly. Although I'm not sure. This one might work too. I don't like the crook here, so let's just take it off. You can't really make a mistake, you just increase the amount of time until it's a finished tree. So there we go. Too late now. And now we still have branching. Not the trunk is just too straight for too long. So I'm going to take it to right there. And then okay. It's sparse, but like I said, the buds will fill in no time. The parent tree, I want to use this as the leader right here. So I'm taking all of this off. And then I want this one here that comes out of the curve of the branch to be my first main branch. Maybe that one makes better first main branch. This one's in a perfect position, but it's coming forward. And I think I will. I think I'll still keep this. Okay, so I'm choosing between this one or this one, so I know this one's coming off. So take that one off. And that one's going to come off. So where do I go with it? This one would have more of a curve because it's going to be almost impossible to straighten that out completely. But this is going to be a very gentle, kind of feminine curved tree. So I think I'm still going to go with that. So I'm going to take this guy off. And then I have a back branch right here. I'm going to take some of this stuff off here. And then I'm probably going to go to here as the new leader. So I've got some very nice movement in here now. And I think I'm actually going to take it to right there. And then shorten everything the way I do. Because in order to get ramification on your branches, you want all these little buds here to be popping out and fill in for the branch. If I left it like this, then the new growth is just going to come out of here. There may be some popping down low, but ramification is much easier to achieve if you cut things back and then let it grow back out. Cut the... See, in this branch here that's growing up, you want your pads to be horizontal. In the back branch, same way, cut him back. So that looks pretty good. The child part, did that guy get severed? I think he did. Okay, well then we take him off. There you go. There's the skeletonization. Now I've decided to put this guy in a bonsai pot, so the next thing is to pull it out of the pot it's in and prune the roots, remove some of the soil, and then put it into the bonsai pot. Actually, I forgot to wire the thing, so I can do it while it's still on the tripod. So I want to bring the parent out like that, and really just the apex of the child out like that. So I'm going to start down below. Whenever you're choosing wire, you want the wire to be just a little bit stronger than the branch you're trying to bend. I really don't think right now that any of the rest of the parent plant, at least the main trunk, needs any manipulation. Just this part right here. And it just needs a very gentle nudge. We're not going to do anything majorly drastic. And as you know, I love to save wire, so we're just going to keep the wire like that. Put your thumbs and your fingers where you're going to bend so you can feel if it's beginning to crack. And just put it into place. About like that. Doesn't want to go. Maybe I put wire that's too thin. I think what I'm doing is I'm trying to bend here, and I put the wire for the thickness of this guy. So it did something though. Right? Sure it did. And then the child part just needs a very small piece of wire on the apex, because the apex is, shooting towards the parent, and it should be coming exactly the other way. It may be that once things begin to sprout down here, that I'm actually going to cut the child, because based on the height of this tree, and obviously it's going to get a little taller, the child is probably going to be more better or proportioned if it's cut to about right there, and then allow it to grow. Remember, wherever you cut, that's as low as it's ever going to get, and it's going to continue to grow from there. But for now, I'm going to do this. Bring this apex out, more like that. Bonsai for me is an art form that's always changing, always moving, never static. So trees can, I already don't like the child part already. But anyway, one more thing, and that is the first main branch on the parent. I need to spin it around so the branch is facing me. Oh, it's got buds everywhere. Most of them I will remove because they're not part of the design, but it's a good sign that the tree is still nice and healthy. There's something on the end of this wire. Drop it down a little. And this is used wire, so it's not perfectly straight, but it'll do the trick. I save all my old wire. It's just part of who I am. Okay, now I'm going to put the front towards me and just bring it like that. Oh yeah, okay. So, that's going to be a pretty nice tree. And I think I'm going to bring the excess wire because it's competing visually with the apex. Okay, very sparse, but that's pretty much the way I do it. And this is the perfect time of year. Right now it's what, the 23rd, 24th of February. So perfect time of year to be doing this for this guy. Next is repotting. I'm now going to repot this guy into a bonsai pot. And I've chosen this pot. And it's a little big, but I don't mind overpotting new bonsai, especially one that's going to get quite a bit of root pruning. Just gives the roots a little bit more room to grow in, gives the plant a little better chance of recovering. If I'm going to make a mistake, quote unquote, I would much rather put a plant in a pot that's a little too big in the beginning than one that's a little too small. So let's take this guy out of the pot and see what we're up against. Oh, and I'm also going to use landscape soil. I'm not going to do any bonsai soil. Loropetalum's like good drainage but moist soil, but also an acid loving plant, so I'll get to that when I talk about fertilizing. And so if we look, it's got pretty nice roots. And you see that right there? That is fertilizer. Apparently when they potted this guy up, because it appears as though it used to be growing in a 1-gallon container, when they potted it up they put about half of the soil and then dumped a whole bunch of fertilizer all the way around, which is really rather interesting. So now it's time to get my rusty my rusty troot thing, my trusty root hook, and begin. Ooh, there's a lot of fertilizer in there, and this stuff really looks almost brand new. So many times I use the old soil that the tree was in, and I may do the same since I've got so much fertilizer already. And start chopping away at it here. I'm not going to completely remove all the soil. But I don't want to shock it too much. And Loropetalum is actually a fairly new tree for me. I do have another one in training that I attempted to take some cuttings from. Not one single cutting took. So try it again, because I've heard that they really work best off of, yeah, you can see it was in a 1-gallon pot. See the edge of the roots? Now here's a circling root, but we can pull it out. There's another one that's circling. Pull it out. There's another one that's dead. So it's not looking too bad. And I think that's about as far as I'm going to go. taking the soil off of the roots. A lot of times you can take a root that's circling like this and take it down and jam it down, and then when you put the soil down in there, you can keep that root. This one here is just way too high, this root, so I'm going to take it off. We've got another real funky root right here. Okay. So now, put the guy in the pot. He's a little too high in the pot, so I'm going to chop off a little more of the bottom. Since I'm right-handed and I'm off to the right too, can't really see what I'm doing, but just basically giving the roots a haircut on the bottom. And I'll show you finished product. And really there's not a lot of real heavy roots even in the middle, so that's good. That's a good sign. I like that. And you know, I'm not gonna worry about, where's my front? That looks pretty good. Okay, take that root and jam him down in there. And some other roots. Where's that guy? Okay, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. And I hate to admit it, but I'm going to use a lot of this used soil that he was already in to put him in. Because the tree wasn't root bound, there's just a lot of really good soil, and it's full of almost brand new fertilizer. So I'd probably grow a lot of trees just in a landscape mix, and especially when they're in training. And this is probably premature bonsai potting, putting it in the container too soon, but that's all right. I'm still a beginner. For me, bonsai is, am I enjoying it? That's really the whole essence for me, is the fulfillment and the enjoyment. Oh, look at that, I pulled that root, let's take it off. So how's it look? Try to get it a little higher. That looks pretty good. I don't like to smash my roots down. So I didn't really need any extra soil. I just used all the old soil out of the pot. We have a root ball here that's kind of nasty that can go into my compost heap. I'll rip it apart and throw it into my compost heap. So that's about it, although we really can't see the finished product from here because there's too much background noise. I'm on a bench where I have a lot of trees growing. The little forest that you see over here is actually bald cypress seedlings. So I'm going to go back to the other bench and get a better look at what we're doing. It's looking good. I like, well, I say finished product. Of course, it's just beginning actually, but the repotting is finished. And now, since the soil in the 3-gallon pot had so much slow release fertilizer in there that looked virtually brand new, I'm going to leave that, and then I'm going to give this guy a little bit of extra azalea fertilizer, because Loropetalums are an acid-loving tree just like azaleas. In fact, I read in the literature that you could put Loropetalums in a very acid place to replace azaleas where there's too much sun, because azaleas need a lot of shade. So this guy now is going to go into dappled shade, no full sun for probably 3 weeks, a month, let it recover. And I don't know, I think the composition actually looks pretty good to me. I don't think the pot is maybe a little too big as far as deep, because the trunks are very thin, but I like it. I like it a lot. And I've got another one, but I'm going to split that into part 2 because this video is already going over time. So if you like this video, please subscribe and hit the like button. And when you subscribe and hit the notification bell, then you'll be able to see when I work on this tree again. Every time there's a development in this tree and then I'm working it again, I will show you the progress over time. So my channel is brand new, but in 2 or 3 years you'll have 2 or 3 years worth of video of watching this tree and all my trees develop from this point on. So thank you so much for watching. Part 2 is coming up, and I will see you in part 2.